or tied with half point for each player. So the game starts with knight f3. I play d5, Levon plays e3, and now I play the move knight to f6. Now when I play this move knight to f6 here, Levon plays move c4, e6, and now we get the move b3. Now it's worth pointing out that in both of my white games in this match, I've had this position with d4 being played, but Levon decides to play b3. Now this game is a little bit of a surprise to me because in my case, I'm here in Norway getting ready for the upcoming Norway chess tournament, so I don't want to reveal too much in the way of what my preparation specifically is, but for Levon, who does not have any major tournaments coming up, I was surprised to see him play something that was not very theoretical. So we get takes. Levon goes bishop a3. Worth pointing out that in my games against Levon with d4, bishop d6 being played, I went for variations with bishop b5, c6, bishop d3, and bishop a6. Usually I was not playing bishop a3 to trade off the bishops with the white pieces, but nonetheless, this is all very, very boring. So we get bishop a3. I trade the bishops. I play c5. Levon goes d4. I castle, and now we get the move rook c1. Now what white is aiming for here is white wants a situation where I have to trade off the pawns, and white gets what's known as a bastion, this great knight on d4, and black having this isolated pawn on d5. There are no pawns on the files next to it to connect, so this pawn is potentially very weak. Therefore, I play the move queen to e7, guarding the pawn on c5, and now in this position, Levon plays the move knight to b5. Now, after Levon plays knight b5, here I play the move bishop b7. It's important to note that if I were to go pawn takes pawn, for example, white has some nasty threats like a knight c7 idea here to try and trap the rook in the corner, so I simply don't want to go for that. So I play bishop b7, bishop b2, knight d7, castles, a6, knight c3, and here I play the move rook a8. Now Levon takes a pawn on c5, and this is where I have a very interesting decision. Now, I can take with the rook, or the knight potentially, but if I take with either of these pieces, white has knight d4, and once again I have the isolated pawn. Now I could also take with the pawn on c5, and this would create the classic hanging pawn structure where I have these pawns on c5 and d5. This also is completely fine. Ultimately, I went for the move rook c5 because being a meme lord, being a streamer on the internet, I wanted to set up some double or potentially some triple stacks on the file. So even though I'm giving white the square and I have the isolated pawn, I'm trusting that I will have enough counterplay on the c file to offset this one square on d4, which I continue to highlight. So Levon goes knight a4. I trade, go play rook c8, queen b2, and here I play the move knight e4. Now, when I played this move knight e4, this was based on a pure miscalculation all the way back when I had played rook takes c5, because I actually thought that this line with queen b2, knight e4, rook c1 was not possible due to pawn to b5 attacking the horse. The knight has no squares on c5 or b6, and if white plays the move knight c3 here, I have the great move queen to c5, and the double stack wins the game as white will lose either the knight. If you don't move it, say you go here, you lose the horse. And if you take the horse, I can take the rook. And now at the end of this big long exchange, I'm simply left with an extra rook, and I will win very soon. So, what I thought that this line was just winning. However, if I play the move b5 here after rook takes, rook, bishop takes, again, if white were to go knight c3, I have this idea with queen to f6, creating a classic 90-degree right triangle. White can't play knight d4 to prevent losing the knight, because then I take the pawn, and I create the classic ice skater checkmate. So after queen f6, I create the threats towards the pawn, and of course I create the threats towards the queen, creating the 90-degree right triangle. The only way for white to continue is knight to d1, saving the piece. But after the trade, knight c3, let's say king f1, and knight takes a2, black has an extra pawn on the queen side, and if anybody can win, it will be me. So, the line that I actually miscalculated was that after takes, white can play the move queen to c2 here, attacking the bishop. So if I take the knight, white takes the bishop, even trade.